I would like to welcome you to today's webinar, Blockchain. All attendees will be in listen-only mode. However, you can submit any questions during the webinar and we will answer them later as time permits. From the experience of our webinars, it has been shown that a short and focused webinars offers the highest effectiveness for our participants. And in this respect, we've designed this webinar to last 20 to 25 minutes. Now, let me introduce myself. My name is Carsten Neumann. I manage all professional services and customer support efforts for Ultimus globally. And in this role, I work with a great team to develop and implement proven models for customer success. And I am very fortunate to be joined today by Wayne Vaughn. He's the CEO of Tierion, a startup that uses the blockchain to prove the integrity and timestamp of any data, file, or business process. As we all know, there is a great deal of discussion and hype around Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And not a day goes by without news reports of fantastic appreciation and dramatic crashes in cryptocurrency values, speculation about traditional currencies becoming irrelevant, and governments attempting to crack down on traders in one way or another. But underlying this currency hype is something much more profound, an historic advance in software architecture called blockchain. And blockchain has implications far beyond currency. The purpose of this webinar is to examine blockchain's role in enterprise business software and how it can be used to overcome fundamental problems facing digital business in banking, healthcare, law, government, compliance, and in virtually every other industry. We will discuss how newly available technologies overcome the challenges and risks of implementing blockchain in the enterprise, and also how enterprise software can be readily blockchain-enabled today for tremendous business value. Let me start by framing the fundamental problem with digital transformation, digital business, and digital business process automation. The problem is that the outcome of an automated business process is a document or a decision. These documents might be loan agreements, employment contracts, purchase orders, bids or quotations, or reports filed with regulatory body, just to name a few. And they are either generated by the business process or used in the process to make a decision. But things in digital form, like documents or other information, can be modified or copied in undetectable ways. And the ability to modify our digital records will undoubtedly become more and more sophisticated over time. So in the past, this wasn't such a big problem. Business processes were internally focused and inside a single company. Most people have some element of trust in each other. But today it's different. Today we are extending processes to customers, to suppliers, and to partners, and even to physical devices with embedded electronics. These parties aren't aligned like in the past. These parties don't necessarily trust each other and have the same interests. So today the issue of trust is paramount. Quite simply, since the outcome of a digital business process is a document or a decision, there needs to be an exceptionally strong method of protecting this data from being altered or stolen. Blockchain is seemingly the perfect solution, an incredibly powerful way to ensure the secure, transparent, authentic, and credible execution of business processes across multiple parties who have no particular trust or familiarity with each other. Blockchain is virtually unhackable, and with blockchain, all parties involved in a process can prove at any point in the future that a document or process instance or any process data is the same as it was presented to the distributed blockchain ledger at a specific prior point in time. So with blockchain, it becomes nearly impossible to alter past records, and anyone can verify that the past record or contact or document is authentic. But to harness the power and potential of blockchain, we face two questions. First, how do we overcome the practical problems of using blockchain reliably and accurately at enterprise scale? And second, how can enterprise applications be blockchain enabled quickly and cost effectively in a way that it's usable and manageable? To answer the first question, let me turn the microphone and screen over to Wayne from Tierion. Wayne.
Thanks, Karsten. So let's talk first for a second about how blockchain is used, just to have a little bit of context here. Bitcoin, which was the first blockchain, was primarily used for value transfer. And what's unique about that is that you can transfer value between anyone on the planet without risk of having somebody interfere with that transaction. That's the primary use case for blockchain. The secondary use case, the thing that you're probably hearing most about in a business context, I like to simply sum up as proof. People are trying to use the blockchain to prove that something happened, that a document was signed, that a piece of data existed at a particular point in time, that a certain business process occurred at a particular time in a particular order and hasn't been tampered with. So why can't we put everything on the blockchain? Well, the simple answer is that there are speed and cost limitations. Bitcoin, the most popular and most secure blockchain, can process currently about 4 transactions per second. And in the past year, we've seen transaction fees as high as $40. Ethereum, the second most popular blockchain, which is not designed primarily for value transfer, but is designed for something, a concept called smart contracts. So a general purpose programming environment on the blockchain. That only can execute 15 transactions per second, approximately. And we've seen transaction fees recently range between 25 cents and $1. So as you can see, there just isn't enough throughput for the world's software applications to put everything on the blockchain. And even if there was, the cost of doing so is prohibitively expensive. So what can you do? Well, at Tierion, we let you link an unlimited amount of data to the blockchain. This is called anchoring. So what we've done is created a way to link data to the blockchain instead of put things on the blockchain. Let's take a look at how that works. So what we're able to do is take a hash of any piece of information. It could be a document, it could be a digital file, it could be an entire database. And what a hash is it's often compared to a digital fingerprint. It is, you analyze a piece of information and you get back a unique number that is specific to that piece of information. And with Tierion, we are able to aggregate all of those hashes together and link thousands or even millions of them to an individual transaction on the blockchain, and then get back what's called a chain point proof. The reason we call it a chain point proof is it's a cryptographic proof that your data is linked to some point on a blockchain. Now, these proofs can be shared with other systems. They're portable, and they can be verified using open source tools. Let's take a look at what a chain point proof looks like. This is a conceptual diagram of a chain point proof. And it really reads like a recipe from top to bottom, showing how the hash of whatever data that it is you're trying to prove is linked to a transaction on the Bitcoin blockchain. And again, open source software tools can be used by anybody in the world to verify these proofs. So you're not dependent on any one vendor or any one technology provider for the continued verification of this data. And at Tierion, what we've done is we've taken this core protocol called Chainpoint that we've built, and we've created a global proof engine using that technology. So there are thousands of computers all around the world who are participating in this process of linking data to the blockchain and returning a chain point proof. And companies like Ultimus can leverage that network to prove the integrity and timestamp of any data file or process. So now Karsten is going to show us how this has been implemented within Ultimus.
Thank you very much, Wayne, for that excellent presentation. Now that we know that blockchain solves a huge problem and that anchoring platforms like Tierion make it practical to use at scale, I would like to turn our attention to the second question I posed. How do you blockchain-enabled enterprise applications quickly and cost-effectively in a way that it's usable and manageable? Well, there's actually a lot of work that has to be done, and there's a fair amount of complexity involved in anchoring enterprise data to the blockchain. At a technical level, there are any number of blockchains. There are APIs to communicate data back and forth between the application, the anchoring platform, and the blockchain itself in order to get the mutually agreed data anchored. And of course, there needs to be a way to prove information in a way in the future that is independent of specific companies or technologies. And finally, users need an interface that is intuitive and hides the technical complexity of what is taking place. So how do we find people with a range of experience and knowledge to think through all the aspects and requirements of the problem in order to get the job done right? We have many software applications today, and with digital transformation initiatives, we will have many more in the future. We can do things one at a time on an application by application basis, each time slightly differently. That's much too slow and will create a nightmare of complexity that will be impossible to maintain and will confuse end users. Ultimus has a very simple solution: solve universal problems, things like solution architecture, design, data management, mobility, document handling, audit trails, localization integrations, and now blockchain. Solve them once in a standardized way that incorporates best practices, instead of once per company, once per project, or once per process in a non-standard way. That is the fundamental principle of Ultimus Composed Process Solutions. Composed Process Solutions, our revolutionary generative development low-code platform, is the ultimate in software reuse. With Composed Process Solutions, you specify only the business requirements of an application. For instance, anchor the loan agreement to the blockchain, and the entire technical implementation is done in technology. That means individual process automation applications and even entire application families can be developed and managed with exceptional speed, consistency, and usability, and without complexity. So now let me show you how fast and powerful it can be with CPS. And there, let's start with a fairly typical CPS-based solution. In this case, a car loan approval solution. You will notice that CPS applications use our standardized request and user interface service technology, or SRUIS for short. For the end user, this is the most visible level of CPS software reuse. SRUIS divides CPS applications into the same 6 concerns. The requester, information about the person or company that wants something. In this case, the details about the borrower. Information about the product or service they want. In this case, the details of the loan. The documents associated with the loan. Business rules, validations, and policies. The process status. And the request history, who did what when. This is empty for now as we did not submit the process so far. So if we go back to the Documents tab, we see the document checklist and that the car loan application and agreement and also the other documents are required. But what stops someone from altering that loan agreement in the future? Say, raising the stated interest rate or lowering the loan amount? The answer is to have the parties verify that the document is correct and anchor it to the blockchain in a future-proof way. Let me show you a really fast and really elegant way to do that. All aspects of CPS solutions are realized in our very straightforward declarative language. Now I go to the Ultimus Composer, where these solutions are defined, and indicate that this document, in this case the car loan application, must be anchored. So let's add this requirement so that CPS will implement all the necessary functionality for anchoring the document. Now save it. So this took only a few seconds, and every aspect of blockchain enabling this application is now complete, fully functional, immediately deployed, and ready to use. Now, the next time someone launches the application, you see the blockchain-enabled solution. So let me go to the concerned document. Now the required car loan document has a red Tierion logo indicating to the user that this document must be anchored. So let me show you how all this works in practice. Typically, we would now enter all data about the person applying for the car loan and about the loan. But rather than type all this, I will use the CPS draft capability. If there is some kind of interruption in work, draft let me save data and come back to it later. So let me load a draft. This draft has already all the required data, except the car loan application. I could upload a document or I could generate the document. In this example, I want the car loan application generated. I click Generate, and CPS creates the actual car loan document using the relevant data. And CPS has automatically added the system-generated application to my document checklist. Now, if I try to send it, you see that CPS has detected a violation that must be fixed before going to the next step in the process. CPS automatically guides user to the problem, and I can see in this case that the loan agreement has not been e-notarized. From this point on, you will see all of the functionality that has been added to the application just by typing document anchoring equals true. In addition to the e-notarization icon, notice now there's a red exclamation point next to the view document icon. When I click on that, the document opens in the viewer and I can see the e-notarize button. CPS took the originally generated car loan application document and added an additional page that will have all business relevant information related to blockchain anchoring, such as the user, role of user, solution, or a timestamp. To begin the notarization, I click on that e-notarization button. I'm now prompted to enter my login credentials in order to prove my identity. After I've done that, CPS takes the document signed by me, hashes it, and sends it to Tierion, where it will be attached to the Tierion calendar and later anchored to the blockchain. CPS gets confirmation from Tierion that it has been attached to their calendar, and the e-notarization icon switches from red to blue, which states that it was successfully accepted by Tierion. And there's also an additional icon indicating the e-notarization process is pending. The document has not yet been anchored to the actual blockchain. Now let me go to my email. Because CPS automatically sends the borrower an email or text indicating that they have signed the document together with the hash and the other proof data. So now I go back to CPS, and now let me submit the request. I will enter then a short comment, and now the task is submitted and the user can see the reference number. And here it is. As Wayne indicated, blockchain anchoring takes time, and that is one of the practical problems that Tierion overcomes, though blockchain is usable in the enterprise, because the application that I just submitted has not yet been anchored. I'll open one that is already complete. Opening this car loan application, and then go into the document tab. One can see that this document, this car loan application, was successfully anchored in the blockchain, indicated by the green e-notarization icon. So when I open it and then click on the Tierion icon, you see the full history, including the date and the blockchain source ID, that allows you to check that this document is anchored in the blockchain. Let me go back to the request history, and you can see that all the same information is also recorded automatically in the request history. Of course, you do not need Ultimus CPS or Tierion to prove the document at some point in the future. Process participants can use the information emailed and go to any independent blockchain verification service like Block Explorer and prove the match. that the particular document is the same one that was signed by parties and was anchored. And again, all of the necessary functionality related to blockchain enabling this solution, or any solution, just by typing the word true, the document needs to be anchored, and it looks and works the same in every single CPS process solution. That is how Ultimus Compose Process Solution blockchain enables enterprise applications quickly and cost effectively, and in a way that it's usable and manageable. So now let me return to my presentation. So with that, and in the interest of time, let me summarize and conclude so we will have time for questions. Blockchain is essential for digital business initiatives because it provides for the secure, authentic, and credible execution of digital business processes. Tierion solves the practical problems of using blockchain at enterprise scale. And Ultimus CPS allows you to quickly, consistently, easily, and cost-effectively digitize all your business processes. In the case of blockchain, or for whatever new requirement might come in the future, CPS solves problems once in a standardized way without the need to understand the technical implementation. Instead, you just include the particular requirement in your solution description, and all of the detail I showed you in the blockchain example is taken care of automatically. So I think we have a few minutes left, so let me open the floor to any questions you have. To ask a question, please use the chat, or you can email me questions afterwards at c.neumann@ultimus.com, and I will make sure that there's an appropriate response. Thank you, Sam. So there are 4 questions that I see so far. And the first one I would like to hand over to Wayne. When there's a question like, but these e-notarizations aren't legally enforceable, so what's the point? Would you be so kind to answer this question?
Sure, Karsten. Every day, businesses have to present information to regulators, business partners, and sometimes in a court of law to be able to prove that something happened. This could be customer records. These could be, things that are digitally signed, and most of this information doesn't have any sort of privileged legally recognized status. So in those cases, somebody comes into the court as an expert witness, and they attest to the data integrity solution that is being used for a record keeping system, or for the digital signature that is being applied to a particular document. And so it's really no different than what the status quo is nowadays. If somebody, here in the United States, there are a few states that are starting to recognize special status for blockchain secured records. I believe Vermont, Delaware, and California all have legislation to that effect. So there is a practical recognition. If anybody ever questioned one of these records, somebody would be able to come in as an expert witness and explain, this is why this is cryptographically verifiable, just like everything else in the world. And I think we're moving towards a future where blockchain secured data and records are better recognized by courts in different jurisdictions.
Okay, thanks. There's another question. How is this any better than DocuSign?
So DocuSign is a workflow management and digital signature platform. And DocuSign allows you to digitally sign something. And you can prove that you signed something. But what you can't prove, see, what happens is if you combine a digital signature for a document, you can always modify that document and sign it again. So if you include a timestamp proof along with a digital signature, you're capturing that digital signature at a unique moment in time, and you're not able to modify that document and present something else that is equally verifiable. The other thing that's a big deal is that with something like DocuSign, you are dependent on DocuSign or whatever digital signature vendor to be able to prove that your account information is attached to your digital signature. With things like anchoring data to the blockchain, you're able to cryptographically prove the timestamp and integrity of data on a global scale without relying on any individual company.
Thanks a lot. I think there are two more questions more related to Ultimus. You showed us a car loan example. What is the effort to do that, for example, with an employee onboarding solution? Well, I think you have seen the effort is 10 seconds. CPS describes the what of a solution, and the rest is done and taken care by CPS. An employee onboarding solution most likely has some required documents. In the composer, you go to the what part of the solution description and then add the blockchain capability by entering document anchor true, as we have just shown it. I think the rest is done by CPS, and that's what we have shown in the demo. A second question, in your example, you anchored a PDF document. Why not use the native data available in the system? Well, CPS can anchor any or every aspect of a solution. In the case of this document, we use PDF because you may want to look at and prove it in 10 or 20 years. So we put the relevant data into a PDF because it's a standard that has been around now for a long time, and you as a user will be able to read and prove it independent of any particular technology vendor. Otherwise, and as Wayne indicated before, you always would need proprietary technology like DocuSign is doing today, doing the proof. So these are the questions for now. There might be more questions, and we are happy to answer them directly in the next days. In closing, thank you again for joining us today. If you would like to see this webinar again, please go to ultimus.com, videos and webinars. And if you want to learn more about blockchain-enabled solution, please contact us or get more information from our webpage, ultimus.com. Take care and goodbye.